All right, let's do this. Friday, NFP damage has already been done. We're going to start with the dollar. So dollar index, I've already peeped at the charts a little bit this morning. I'm looking at this high right here. If we go to a 3-day chart, why 3-day chart? It's just cleaner. We have one fair value gap, consecutive down close candles here. You don't get that on a 2-day chart. It's like a separation. We have two fair value gaps. And on a daily chart, it's kind of messy in here. So just to clean up this area right here, I like a 3-day chart. Last down close candle before this displacement is a bullish order block. We'll see how that acts as support on the lower time frame. All right, let's drop down to the hourly chart. And just like magic, look at the bodies there. We wicked all the way down. And we're coming off of that order block. Let's take a look at the 15-minute time frame. Again, the bodies. 5-minute. All right, I want to see if dollar can take out this buy side, people who gambled and traded the NFP announcement. There's a lot of liquidity resting above here and above this high here. All right, back to the daily chart. Let's look at ES. All right, something to note, this fair value gap here. Notice how notice how ES has already traded into that, already closed it in, and we've taken out this high on the daily chart. The Dow doesn't have a fair value gap in here, but we cleared the buy side. Now let's take a deeper look into the Nasdaq. So remember how ES traded into its daily fair value gap? I'm watching this right here for Nasdaq. I shared this in the weekly forecast, I think this past weekend. I wanted to see if we traded up into this fair value gap, and we also have a bearish breaker. We rallied up, just fell short of it, came back down. Now we're rallying back up again. So I'm going to have that level on my chart between this week's close, that week's open, new week opening gap, and another one right here. I like this one up here because it's pretty much inconsequent encroachment of that daily fair value gap. And that's pretty much it. If we do trade up deeper into this fair value gap, we have this breaker. You could check the weekly forecast for that level. Inefficiency here, clearing the buy side. NFP just straight shot up. Not really much to break down on a lower time frame. High impact news at 10 o'clock. So hopefully get some displacement there. Should help us get a read on price. New week opening gap. Fair value gap. Daily fair value gap. Small little volume imbalance there. All acting as support. Not really sure if I'm interested in buying today. We're already at a deep premium. But we're in a deep premium. NFP pushed us up into our daily fair value gap. Look at this large, huge opening range gap. Traded into a premium array on the daily chart, that daily fair value gap. All right, failed to reach that new week opening gap. I'm watching that. So anything buying all the way up here, in my opinion, is kind of retail logic, because retail sees that, oh, we opened higher. All right, let's chase it and let's go higher. But my thought process is we're already in a deep premium. A lot of people made money going long, holding longs from yesterday. All these traders up here, we gapped open. So not really interested in buying all the way up here or up here. Bearish breaker. High, low, higher high. This long wick here is what I'm outlining. Notice the bodies, consequent encroachment of that new week opening gap. Next fair value gap, I'm going to look to go short, targeting this new week opening gap, which is laying inside of this buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency. how we have this weekly fair value gap. If you take your fib and run quadrants on that, look at the body's respecting that 25% quadrant, but this candle up here traded all the way up, perfectly stopped on a dime right at consequent encroachment of that weekly fair value gap. 1 minute chart, that's this high here. So we traded up into a new week opening gap, into a bearish breaker on the 1 minute time frame, but more specifically stopped dead in its tracks right at consequent encroachment of the weekly fair value gap. So there's no reason, in my opinion, to take out this high if we're looking for sell side down here and this new week opening gap and fair value gap down here. I want to see if this fair value gap can act as a breakaway gap. Sideways for a little bit, explosive momentum to the downside. If we leave this fair value gap open, then that's signs of bearish order flow that I like to look for. All right, using this fair value gap to go short. Stop loss above the new week opening gap and above the breakaway gap. Once we close, or if we close past consequent encroachment of this wick, I'll move my stop to break even, assuming we trade down here. Dollar, if you look at dollars trading into its 15-minute fair value gap, showing a bit of reaction there. Up close candle as a bearish order block. Stop loss is moved above mean threshold of that. So I don't expect price to trade past midpoint of this up close candle. So that's why my stop is safe at break even. Taking a bulk of my position off if we trade underneath this low, which is sell side. I'm seeing this as retail has chased this move going higher, expecting higher prices, but we're in that macro, that 11 o'clock macro, which tends to run on AM session liquidity. So I'm looking at that low and possibly that new week opening gap. This order block opening price, last line of defense for lower prices. You can see the reaction and the bodies respecting that. Which is why I move my stop loss just above midpoint. So this is a balanced price range. I don't want to see a stall in here. I prefer to see speed, quickly get through that and take out sell side, but this could act as support. But I like these lows down here. It's already taking too long to take out sell side for my liking, but the risk is already removed, so we'll just let it run. Since the Dow has already traded down here and pretty much completely overlapped its non-farm payroll fair value gap, I have one small contract remaining in case we trade down here like in the PM session or during lunch, because the Dow has already reached this level down here. So again, notice the bodies. Bearish order block. Stop loss is above mean threshold. I said earlier that was the last line of defense for lower prices. Stops dead in its tracks. If we disrespect that opening price, we're likely to take out this high. All right. Remember I said I wanted to see speed through this balanced price range. I want us to hurry and get the sell stops down here. I want us to stay heavy and get these sell stops resting below this low. I want us to quickly snap down and grab that. All right. Taking some off here. It's taking way too long. I wanted to see speed underneath this low. Right, and there we go. So stopped a little bit in profit and took a partial down here near this low, simply because we're stalling too much. Wanted to see sell side taken out. So that's the business. But best of luck to you guys if you're still trading. I'm going to go ahead and get set up. Remember, in about 10 minutes, we're joining that Friday group discussion channel, and we're talking about psychology and everything. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Love y'all. Be safe. Peace.